Three guys, hot debates, bold takes, and yes, we may not always find the end zone, but hey, we always put points on the board. Settle for three, where the only thing we take seriously is the game.
All right, guys, welcome to Settle for Three. Joey, Cameron, Evan, this is episode 6. How you guys doing?
Oh, fantastic. Just waiting at this point for some punishment.
You guys brought hot sauce with you? Can I see it? Is proof? What?
I have to think truth. Hot sauce, thank you for not sponsoring
that was probably
Cameron,
$50 hot sauce.
Yeah, and Cameron, I'd love to see your actual glass real quick, because I showed my glass. I don't care about your...
Happy Jamaica. Yeah, it's...
Put that in the screen. Hold on. Oh, that's got to go to your left. Yeah, there you go.
Is that not full? That's not full, dude.
Yeah,
I feel like mine's a lot more full than his.
That's about 2/3 full.
Next time we're doing hot sauce on the rocks. So,
oh my gosh,
not looking forward to this at all.
All right, let's get this show on the road. On today's show, we're going to recap the semifinals, and with it, we got some shots to take. Then we're going to interview for the Kennesaw State head coaching job. Someone was already hired. We're going to do it anyways. I'll tell you why. We're going to preview the national championship between Ohio State and Notre Dame. That should be a good one. And in our last segment, it's a new one, Bear versus Bull. I'll explain exactly what that means when we get to it. But first, before we get to the semifinals, here's the playoff bracket. Everything's filled out except the national championship. Going to be Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Cam, just a quick question for you. Now that the bracket is filled out, what has surprised you most about the way everything played out here?
I mean, look, I think we all are kind of happy to see a team here that we didn't really expect in Notre Dame. I think it's a lot of fun. Ohio State, it's not really too shocking, but in general, it'll be a fun game to watch.
Evan, did we get the two best teams in the title game?
You know what? For once, I think we did. I think this is it's a conversation for another episode, but the 12-team playoff is working. You got two teams who never would have made the 14 playoff, who have now beaten some absolute powerhouses to make themselves national championship contenders. So I love it. It's we've got some good games that we didn't actually get during the first couple of rounds. So I'm ecstatic about this matchup.
If nothing else, the semifinal games were both incredible games in their own right.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we got to witness that.
Yeah.
Yep. Ditto. All right, guys. Well, let's move on to that. Ohio State beat Texas 28-14. You both picked Ohio State. Notre Dame beat Penn State 27-24. You both beat Penn State. And that's where we get to today's top story. And that's you two taking shots of hot sauce because you both lost. So
I'm just
I don't know how else to set it up.
Top story. All right. Yeah. This is apparently the top story. So Cameron, cheers.
Cheers to you, sir.
This is gonna be awful.
I'm going right in the questions as soon as you take them.
Love it.
Right.
Go.
Okay. Oh.
All right.
Oh, the flavor.
Okay. Go.
Ohio State, Texas. I think this game played out how we all expected. Single score game until the final 2 minutes. Ohio State pulled away on a fumble for a touchdown. Did you get what you expected with this?
Yeah. I think we both picked Ohio State, and we both said that they would cover. Generally speaking, Ohio State was there to play. It ended about the way that I thought it would. Now, I will say the score was not quite indicative of how close I felt that the game was. Mm-hmm. Ohio State was kept in check really the entire game. Texas did a great job both on the offensive end and the defensive end. Let's credit a lot to Jack Sawyer for doing what he did. A heck of a matchup.
All right, Evan, you got anything to add on this game? I know your power was out during it, so maybe not.
Yeah. No, the power was out during this whole game, so I was getting some, just mostly a lot of updates. Sorry, I'm not doing great for the hot sauce, but
so let's put you back on camera then.
The game through the first half, I thought was pretty much as it should have been. Like Ohio State went up early. I was really surprised that they didn't pull away throughout the entire game. So I am happy for the SEC and happy for how Texas did bringing it that close compared to the Ohio State's last couple games in the playoffs. But overall, I think just reading the stats on the game and watching some highlights, I think that game on paper is a lot closer than it actually was.
Yeah, it was a close game, and Texas did a good job getting back into it in the third quarter. But Ohio State beat the spread. They almost doubled the spread, and they are heading to the Natty. Let's go to the other game. Evan, you did watch this game.
I did.
Notre Dame edges out Penn State by 3. And so what was interesting about this game, Riley Leonard goes down in the second quarter after a hard hit, goes to the medical tent. The Irish are down 10-3 at the half. I think we kind of all expected Penn State to pull away, but, Leonard comes back in the second half, leads the Irish on 4 drives, and, hey, man, that's all she wrote.
Yeah, that was actually pretty shocking to me because Penn State was straight up manhandling Notre Dame in that first half. I mean, line for line there, each line, the offensive and the defensive line for Penn State was going crazy on top of Notre Dame. There was nothing they could do to stop them. At the end of the day, though, I don't know how it happened, but Notre Dame just absolutely pulled away, and they somehow snuck out with the win. I mean, nothing against Notre Dame, but Penn State kind of let off the gas, and I just don't understand how that happened. I don't know if James Franklin can't win the big one, but there's no reason that they should have lost this game.
I saw he was 4-20 versus either it was top 10 teams or top 25 teams, but that's not very good.
Top 10.
No. Yeah,
10.
No, it's not great at all, especially, I mean, look, James Franklin, he came from an SEC background, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Austin Vanderbilt.
Granted, it was Vandy, but he's been up against all the big teams before. Notre Dame, historically, they're not that top dog that we all think of. They are certainly coming around to that, especially this year, coming through this 12-team playoff. But James Franklin, he should be used to this, coming from the SEC and then having been in the Big Ten for so long. He should be used to these big games. He should be able to win them.
Yeah.
Hey, one comment on that game. Stat of the game. Not a single reception by a Penn State wide receiver in that game. Every pass was caught by a running back or a tight end.
Wow, I did not know that.
Craziest
That's
stat
incredible.
line I think I've ever seen in my life. I'd have to go back and check. I don't even know that there was a target to a wide receiver.
All right. Well, we'll get to the national championship here in a little bit, but first, another opportunity for one of you to take a shot.
Hey, can I just go ahead and get this out of the way? I'm not feeling great right now. I'm not.
We better get through the episode then.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not feeling great. So let's get into this one.
Okay, so why is this application on our screen? That's because Kennesaw State posted their head coach application on multiple sites, Indeed, other stuff. So a bunch of gamers that play CFP 25 decided to post their dynasty resumes and apply for the job. Now, we do want to mention Kennesaw State did hire someone over the weekend, Jaguars assistant Jerry Mack, but we're going to do this segment anyways. I'm going to interview you both, and you are both interviewing for this job. I got questions laid out right here. I put a lot of thought into them, and we're just going to see who wins. Loser is going to have to take a shot. So
Let's do it.
All right, let's do this. I'm going to rotate between questions. Evan, you are first.
Great.
I'll pop you guys up here. There we go. Evan, Kennesaw State, 2-10 last season. How do you plan to make them a nationally competitive team in the future?
I mean, let's be honest. A lot of that started in the locker room. Kennesaw State, they did not have a great, not just recruiting class, but they just didn't have a great staff in general. It's all got to start in the locker room. It's got to start with finding some leadership on the quarterback side. And then it's got to spread throughout the entire locker room. We've got to have some good coordinators. We've got to have a good head coach, which would be me in this case, and we just, I'm really struggling here. Look, let's be honest. Like it has to start with having some players that want to come to the school in the first place. NIL is not going away. It's got to come to Kennesaw State.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue, candidate number 1 to candidate number 2. Our team lost more than 24 players in the transfer portal this cycle. Pretend I'm a recruit. Make your pitch to me to stay with the team or to transfer from another team to Kennesaw.
So the first one to do it was Deion Sanders at trying to get a bunch of players to come to a school that was historically not a great program in Colorado. What brought them there wasn't necessarily the money. It was the fact that you would be a front runner on screen with an ability or a capability of trying to go pro or even trying to get to that next level.
I hate to cut you off there, but it was actually just playing for a Hall of Famer. So if you're going to take that spot, then let's go with that.
I fundamentally disagree with you. I think it was to try and get into the limelight that Deion brought to the school, to the program.
One thing you got the limelight. Okay. All right.
Yeah. One thing that I want to do.
Candidate number 1, let candidate number 2 talk.
All right.
Thank you, Joey. Don't like you, candidate number 1.
I'm not taking another shot.
So back to me. So I genuinely want to see these players get the attention that they need. I think it's going to be a couple of years to try and get it built back to the way that we need it to be. I really want to establish the running game. As we all know, I enjoy time of possession. I really want to try and build this team up from the ground up. I want to make us a respectable part of our conference, and I think that we have every asset in order to do so. We're the largest college in the state of Georgia, and there's no reason that we shouldn't be showing out on a national level, at least to the point of being in a conference title conversation.
All right, very good point there. Evan, we're going to send it back to you here. Coach Evan, what excites you most about moving to Kennesaw, Georgia? And be specific.
Other than already living here, the biggest thing about Kennesaw, look, they already made an upset last year. You may not think of Liberty as an upset, but from a Kennesaw perspective, Kennesaw State, that was huge, especially for not having a big program history. Okay. As Cameron already said, and I will give it to coach number 2 here, right? Second is the worst. We all know that. He already outlined Kennesaw is the biggest school in Georgia. Everybody always thinks of UGA. In terms of population size, Kennesaw State has that number. They are continuously becoming bigger. They are continuously having bigger and bigger classes coming into the school. It's only a matter of time before Kennesaw State hits the big time in the FBS. You should absolutely come to this school and be excited about it, just like everybody else. It's right next to the heart of Atlanta. It's right next to the Braves Stadium, which everybody absolutely loves. And the Falcons, let's be honest, they're okay. Georgia, they're out of the conversation at this point. Let's bring the name to Kennesaw State, where we can make an impact.
All right, you started a little slow there, but I think you saved it there at the end.
Well, unlike Cameron, I actually took hot sauce, so I'm salivating a little bit.
This had truffles in it. It probably tasted really good. It was probably really mild.
I bet it did. Yeah,
and some
sweetness. It tasted like a warm glass of milk, probably, right?
Tasted like somebody who's got a real classy piece of taste wants to bring that to Kennesaw State, and we're
right. So now that we're done with the political discussions with Evan just trying to bash me, what question do you have for me?
All right. It's important for any incoming coach to know the current roster. What were the strengths of the 2024 Kennesaw Owls?
Quarterback staying. We kept one of our running backs. Our offensive line is in pretty good shape. A lot of our defense isn't there. I see where a lot of it needs to come from. In general, I actually like the basis that we're running from, and I think that it's something that we're able to grow on. As I said previously, I'm a time of possession guy. The fortunate part is all it takes is having that 53-man roster and trying to be as capable as you can possibly be on a football field against any team. One thing that I do bring to the table is coaching awareness. I'm fully aware of the rules. I'm fully aware of how everything needs to go in order to get the style of play that I need. I don't need the most talented players in the world, but I want players that are willing to be there and willing to put their bodies and their heads forward in order to be successful on the team.
Great answer. Evan, that's going to be a tough one to follow. We need donor money really bad. We need new facilities. We're coming from the FCS, the FBS. What's your pitch to donors to open their checkbooks?
Look, here's the thing with Kennesaw. And actually, first of all, here's the thing with Georgia in general. We have some of the largest billionaire type portfolio in the state of Georgia. That's just how it is. There's as many.
Kennesaw State has the largest billionaire portfolio in the state of Georgia. Is that correct?
I'm talking about Georgia. So let me finish. The city of Atlanta has less billionaires than just north of Atlanta up in Dalton, Georgia, foreign capital of the world. Okay. Now, let's focus back on Kennesaw State in general. Kennesaw State, in the last couple of years, they have not only grown to one of the largest schools in Georgia, but they bought Southern Polytech, which is one of the largest engineering schools in Georgia. They have bought up so many different schools at this point. They have consumed so many alumni who are extremely successful. This is not a one-person game, because this is not just something that benefits the football program. This benefits every single program within the university. There has got to be, just like every other large school, there's got to be some type of sophomore, junior type of job on campus where you can reach out to those alumni, tell them what's going on, tell them the great things that are coming, not just to football, but every other type of program within the school, and try and get that donor money. It's not just about NIL. It's about profiting the entire school.
Well, Evan, you should teach a class on gaslighting 101. That was fantastic.
I do my best.
Cameron, the mascot of Kennesaw State is an owl. What are the qualities and characteristics of an owl that would translate to a winning football program?
Sneaky fighter that absolutely likes to beat the hell out of any team that you play.
You ever met an owl that did that?
No, I think that's the problem, is they're not the owls that currently are. They need to be the fighting owls. They don't need to be the sit back and take it owls.
Oh, okay. I like that.
In the prior 10 years, they've never shown any form of aggression. I think it's time to actually really take a step up. I think I'm the guy to help lead you there. I think we are a team of the Fighting Owls, and I really want us to take that next step together.
So you're saying change our name. You haven't even gotten the job yet.
Not even saying change the name. I'm just saying you need to change what the slogan is and what the mentality is.
Okay. All right. Final question is for each of you. We'll start with you, Evan. Give me your elevator pitch. Why do you want to be Kennesaw State's next head coach?
Look, Kennesaw State, they can't go anywhere but up, right? My guys at Kennesaw State, they put their heart into the entire season this past season. They upset Liberty. They had some really close games here and there. It's time to take it to the next level. This is not a school that you come to in Georgia to be third, fourth grade. This is a school that you come to so that we can make you better. We're not just talking about let's turn you around and make sure that you can get to a better school. We want you here all 4 years. We want you competing at not just a conference level, but at a national level so that we can take you into the NFL. We want you not just for now, but we want to make sure that you are here for the long term, not just for a quick NIL deal, but you are here to take us to where we want to be. We want to compete. We need
the elevator already got to the top, dude. The elevator pitch. It's like 20 seconds.
Oh, it's through it.
Okay. Cameron, let's hear you try.
Fundamentally, I disagree with everything that Evan said. It's not a school with any kind of history. It's not a school that's ever been at the top. My objective is to get you there. My objective is to put you on the screen in front of the parents, in front of the future students, in front of everyone that you possibly can in order to either get that next NIL deal or go to the next school. And I want to help you grow there or to try and get to that next level. My objective is to win. My objective is to help you grow. My objective is to be successful.
All right. Thank you, guys. Give me a few seconds to look over my notes.
It'd be a pretty easy job.
By the way, we will both be applying, even though it's already filled.
I was about to say, I actually put my name in there. I have all of my college football 25 stats and my NCAA 14 stats in there.
All right. Well, guys, we have a problem. And the problem is that you both tied. Would you be willing to both take assistant coach jobs and neither of you want to take a shot?
As long as this is the last time that we
Or
ever come
you
to
can
a
say
tie
no.
game with that.
You can say no and I'll pick a winner. Either you agree right now that it's a tie.
I want, I think
tell
in the heart of it, Cameron and I, we probably would be but let's be honest, after 12 months, there would be a little bit of competition. So,
all right. I'll pick a winner.
I don't think we need to take it. Yeah, go ahead and pick a winner.
Yeah. Evan, you dug your grave. Take that shot. Cameron, congratulations. You are the next head coach of Kennesaw State.
I actually bring back everything I just said. I would love to share the head coaching position.
I gave you a chance. I gave you a chance to both humble yourself. That looks like.
I was about to say, you're welcome to sing the Alabama fight song if that makes you feel any better.
No, that would make no one feel better.
I would take this 10 times over.
I will gladly drink my water with you.
Okay.
We're just gonna sit on this for a few seconds and cherish this.
No, we can go on.
All right, let's move on. National title.
Love it. So good.
National title preview. Ohio State's an 8.5-point favorite. The line's 46.5. Games also on Inauguration Day. We are obviously never going to talk about politics on the show, but who will be inaugurated as a national champion and why?
That's a really weird way to ask that question on Inauguration Day.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get out in front of this. I'm going to outwardly take an underdog. Notre Dame is not favored in this game, and I have a feeling that I'm probably going to differ from Evan on this. I have a number of reasons as to why. I believe in Notre Dame's defense. I believe that is the answer to a lot of the questions that are being asked. How few points can Notre Dame hold Ohio State to is the main one that everyone should be asking. We all know what's really a five-headed monster that is the Ohio State offense. You have Mika Igbukka, you have Jeremiah Smith, Will Howard, Quinshot Judkins, and Travion Henderson. Not to mention there's another receiver or two. There's great offensive linemen. We know the amount of talent that's there. What I really wanted to dive into was the analytics behind this. So on an average basis, Ohio State has put up 36 points per game. Notre Dame has put up or allowed 13 points per game over the course of the season. In the entire season, Notre Dame gave up 12 passing touchdowns. 3 of those have come in the playoff, which means over a 9-game span, they only gave up, over a 12-game span, they only gave up 9 passing touchdowns. Statistically speaking, they are a really, really, I venture to say great defensive team. Now, Ohio State has historically struggled with some of these programs that really excel on having strong defenses. Your Alabamas, your Michigans, your Georgias. Those are really the only types of programs that have given them difficulty. Ohio State also thrives on starting strong. Over the last 3 games in the playoffs, Ohio State has put up 69 points in the first half. That is a crazy number. Now, at the same time, Notre Dame has only allowed 16 points in all 3 of those first halves as well. And let's remember, too, those haven't been bad teams. You have a Georgia in there. You have a Penn State in there. Indiana, maybe I'll give them a little bit of a bye, but maybe you could say the same for Tennessee. Anyways, the deeper I dove into this, the more competitive it actually started to look. The other big call out, and I believe this was on Greg McElroy's podcast, was Will Howard has only faced man-to-man this season on 19% of his dropbacks. No one has really pressured on a man-to-man basis these Ohio State wide receivers. No one really has the talent to do it. However, you have three Notre Dame players that have 3 interceptions in the season or more. One of them has 6. His name is safety Xavier Watts. I genuinely really like this matchup. I think you need to pressure. You need to keep them inside the tackles. You need to do everything you can to keep it underneath, because I think you can guard the deep ball even on single man-to-man. That's kind of my winning formula for Notre Dame. All that said, I have Notre Dame as my winner. I believe we have a cocky Ohio State team that's coming here to Atlanta who already believes that they have the national title in hand. I don't think it's there. Notre Dame is playing up like they have all season, and I think that they're really in a good spot for this game.
Hey, Evan, have you recovered?
Yeah. Whether my thoughts are there or not, I don't know. But I want to start by talking about line versus line, O-line versus D-line. And let's talk about Ohio State. Ohio State has one of the best defensive lines in the country. On the other side of that, they also have one of the best secondaries in the country. And their secondary, I would say, is just a bit better than their line up front. The reason I say that is because this game is going to be won on the run. And Notre Dame, they probably have a lot more of a well-rounded offense than Ohio State, and I will absolutely give them that. Oh, I know Cameron absolutely hates that, but it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And if Ohio State can stop them on the run, there is almost zero chance for them on the pass, because they have one of the top 3 best secondaries in the country. On the opposite side of that, on the offense, yeah, Notre Dame, they've got such a well-rounded offense, but if they can't get it done on the pass, then they're going to have to lean on the run. If they can't get it done on the run, they're going to be screwed all over. Ohio State is going to take this game. Ohio State has shown time and time again, except for that Michigan game, and except for a really, really close loss to Oregon, that they can demolish any opponent that they come up against. Notre Dame, they have had a couple of actual good opponents these past few weeks, and they've done really, really well. But let's be honest, their last game against Georgia, yeah, they demolished them. The score did not really compute on that one, if we're all being really honest. But that was Georgia with their backup quarterback. Talk all you want about Gunnar Stockton. He's a great quarterback. But for once, a defense was dialed up for him. And it really showed a lot. So they may not have been quite as good as they were all, done up to be. I'm going to Ohio State on this one. Ohio State, I don't think is going to have too much of a problem. But what I will say is, again, this is working. We have 2 teams who never would have been in the 14 playoff. Mm-hmm. 2 teams that did not get their byes, and 2 teams that have given us not only the most convincing wins throughout the college football playoffs this year, but also the most exciting wins in the quarterfinals. I'm really looking forward to
Joey, I have a question here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Evan, I want you to name one particularly strong part of the Notre Dame offense against Ohio State. What do you mentioned that they're well-rounded. What is
it's got to be their 2-headed monster at running back. That's got to be it. I mean, they have all the ability. I think they've got 2 running backs over 1,000 yards, right?
No, that was Penn State. That was Penn State.
Yeah,
that was Penn State.
Either way, they've got something right up the middle that, I mean, look back to the Michigan game. Michigan won that game by being able to run right up the middle.
think it's a matter of trying to stop Ohio State. If you can put up 17, but your defense can hold steady, I think you're in good shape.
I agree. Ohio State is not made for close games. I mean, let's look at their track record. They lost to Oregon by 1. Penn State, they barely squeaked it out by, what was that, 6 back when they played them?
20 to 13. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not one made for close games. They're not one made to dig into the trenches, but they are one to come out quick and fast and score on some real open long drives.
I will say, if you are Notre Dame, you do need to be trying. Riley Leonard needs to be on point to start off the game. If you start off the game in a 14-0 deficit, it's going to get real ugly real fast.
That's what I was going to say. If you give up a big play in the first quarter,
yeah,
you're done. If you're Notre Dame, like that's just not Notre Dame too is not one of those teams that is made for a really big, long, drawn out fight till the end.
No,
I mean, look at all the games that they've had that have come close. They haven't been that close. If they have been that close, they lost.
All right. So, Cam, you like Notre Dame straight up, right? Or do you just like them to beat the spread?
I like Notre Dame straight up. I think the defense is what the difference is here. I think Notre Dame all the way.
All right. And Evan, do you think Ohio State covers? It's lines at 8.5.
I do. I don't think it'll be much more or much less than that.
All right. I think Ohio State wins and I think they cover too, but I do actually like the under. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game because Notre Dame's going to try to limit possessions.
I want to call out one thing. Over the last couple of games that Notre Dame played, they had possession of 56% on average of the games. Against Penn State, it was literally 50-50. It was, I think, 30-30 and 29-30. So almost dead even.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and I'm saying if Notre Dame could win that one, and they basically evenly split, and Notre Dame is developed for these long, possessions, it starts to look more and more in the favor of that Notre Dame offense. As long as they're able to be efficient, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, you need to just keep it going. Those first down markers are the entire game.
Yeah, I can keep naming stats about Ohio State too, but I think they're going to win.
I think we'd all like, at the end of the day, a good game, though, no matter what happens,
Absolutely.
right? We just want a good competitive game. Don't want another blowout. Just something to send us into the offseason the right way. So,
not even that, but like the college football playoff committee, they need this to be a really good game. They finally had some relief in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
This needs to be a really good game.
All right, guys, time for our last segment. It's actually a new one called Bear versus Bull. I'll explain that in a second, but Cam, let me ask, how's your portfolio doing?
My portfolio in what regards?
We're talking about stocks, man.
Bears, Bulls, man.
Come on.
I mean, generally speaking, I'm not a financial advisor, and if I was, it'd be a really bad one. So...
Okay.
Maybe don't go with me on stock advice, but if you're going on player advice, I do have some great guidance there.
Perfect segue. So bear references a bear market when stocks trend down. Bull references a bull market when stocks trend up. So we're going to take that and take stock on players and see if they're trending up or down. Let's start with, what are we starting with first? We're starting with players trending down. And we'll start with your Kim first. And it's someone that's near and dear to your heart, or maybe not anymore.
No, I still think near and dear is actually the right word. Jalen Milroe genuinely has been a good quarterback at Alabama in general. He's had a couple of very memorable moments. The two that come to mind are 4th and 31 against Auburn in 23, and then against Georgia last year, where it was probably the most lights out game I've ever seen by an offense in a first half period. The biggest thing with trending down, or what I look for, is players that are surrounded by talent, but never quite find a way to blossom, at least not on a regular basis, generally don't work out at the next level. As of right now, today's January 14th, Jalen Milroe has declared for the NFL draft. I look at some players and I go, this is the guy that at the next level is able to perform or is not able to perform. When I'm looking at Milroe, some of the crazy stats that I went and pulled, he's he's only able to operate if he's able to run. Okay. Mm-hmm. So in games that he won, he put up 215 yards, had a 70% completion percentage, and put up a touchdown and a half each and every game that he played in over this season in 2024. The bigger stat line to look at, though, the average rushing yards from those wins was 77 yards, averaging 6.2 per carry and over 2 rushing touchdowns per game. The exact opposite happens when you shut down his rushing game. What you'll see is that the passing yards actually went up by 11, so we're up to 226 yards per game. But our completion percentage takes a 15% dip, going down to 56%, and now we're not even at a full touchdown per game. Now, the craziest stat of them all, and it's the reason I say he's not a dynamic quarterback, and I question it at the next level unless he's able to get help. In games that he lost, Milroe put up 8.8 yards per game on the ground. Wow. Not per rush. That is per game. So that's Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Oklahoma, and Michigan. In those games, averaging 9 yards a game when you're a dual threat doesn't fly. You're a 240-pound quarterback. You have to be able to throw the ball. What I'm learning is if you get put in those scenarios where you're forced to pass, you don't have it. You're not able to read. And I love being able to look for Milroe's ability to read. And yet the deeper that I look, the worse it actually becomes. At this point, if Jalen Milroe can't run the ball, I don't have faith in him at the next level. The largest mistake I see for him is actually declaring. I think that he would benefit so greatly from trying to learn from a great offensive mind that we actually have in football or in college football to try and build his draft stock going into the NFL. I do think it's there. I just think that he needs to work on the mentality in order to make it better. Teams that would best suit him, I think it would take an air raid style of offense so that he's able to work on his quick decision making and to try and open up the secondary underneath while they have to kind of focus on his run game. A team that really sticks out, it's ironic because I think Evan might hit on this one later, Miami. I think he would be an excellent fit for Miami as Cam Ward is just leaving there. Cam Ward put up 40 touchdowns, rushed for 1,000, put up a zillion yards. That's that kind of offense that he would be successful in because he has enough talent around him to be able to break it out, and he would have the offensive coordinator to help. Sorry,
Evan, no, it's all good. Evan, you got anything to add on him?
No, I totally agree. Milroe, he started out the season as just one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
It was a landslide. So I don't want to ruin too much of what I'm going to say about some other players, but totally agree with what Cameron said.
So I do want to call out one thing. Sometimes draft comparisons come up and you have physical specimen that are oftentimes drawn. And there's only one player in recent memory that really hits as a Jalen Milroe in terms of size and capability. That's Anthony Richardson. I think there's a better mentality for the game and the support for your team and not wanting to sit out after you're tired after a play. But I think that is your NFL equivalent there. I don't think the mentality the game dynamics are there.
So I think the only benefit for Milroe is that he's still going to go in the first round. A lot of mocks have him in the first round. Mel Kiper has him as a top 5 quarterback. Now, maybe at the end of the day, he'll slide, but he's projected for the first round because he's 6'2". He's a big body, and there's going to be a team out there, maybe a team like the Steelers that has a Russell Wilson that says, okay, we're going to draft this guy at 20, have him sit on the bench, have him learn from Russ, and have him play when he's ready. I mean, I guarantee there's a GM out there that's going to throw away all the tape on what he does bad and only show the owner, the 50-yard bombs and the 50-yard runs, and he will be drafted.
So, Joey, you look at Jalen Milroe in the same light that the Falcons looked at Michael Penix when he came in to play.
Yeah,
correct.
I'm just looking at it.
So you think Jalen Milroe's on the same level as Michael Penix?
It's perception, not reality.
Yeah,
it's perception.
Yeah,
the perception is there will be a team. There will be a team that says we can fix this guy. because he has the physical tools. Yeah.
Agreed. I totally agree. And
It's going to be a bad pick.
On the total
be a bad
opposite
pick.
side of the planet.
But it'll happen.
But I agree, because he does have all the physical attributes, and you never know what can happen in an NFL locker room, right? You look at Joe Milton this past Sunday, who finally got his first, not really start, but pretty much start at the Patriots. Every Tennessee fan, including myself, was not sold on him, right? But he finally got in an NFL locker room, got NFL-level coaches, NFL-level wide receivers, and he balled out.
Yeah.
You never know what can happen.
I'll throw out a different one. Jalen Hurts went into the league. A lot of people didn't have faith. I had said he'd be great because all he ever tried to do was continue building. But the best thing he ever did was go to Oklahoma to learn under Lincoln Riley on how to be successful and to better build his brain on how to read the field. I think that's what Milroe needs.
I agree with you. He should have transferred. I agree with you. He should have transferred. I'm just saying he's going to be a first-round pick, whether he pans out or not.
Any team that takes him.
I agree with
wish
you.
him the best.
Good thing you're not a GM.
All right. Well, we have five more of these to get through. So let's move on to another bust. This is your turn, Evan. And that's not a mistake, by the way. He plays for Miami.
Yes, he is a Miami quarterback as of this past week. Carson Beck, let's be honest. Look, he was first team All-American quarterback this preseason, this past year, and then everything went downhill. Carson Beck has all of the tools needed to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He has all the tools needed to be one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL at this point. He just hasn't been there yet. He's made really bad decisions. You got a quarterback who has made almost half of the amount of touchdowns he has, almost half of that same number have been interceptions. It's been a really bad year for Carson Beck, who started as one of the top NFL prospects. The only other thing that I will say on him, I'm not sold that going to Miami and staying in the NFL, or staying in college football is the best move for him. Mm-hmm. Right now, it is great considering the fact that he's going to make more next year than Bryce Young and a bunch of, Drake May, like a bunch of other NFL starting quarterbacks. However, to your point with Milton, Carson Beck, no matter what, if he went to the NFL right now, he would get drafted, and he would get drafted for a good amount of money. If he goes to Miami next year, which obviously he is, he's probably not going to live up to Cam Ward's standards that he made this past year. His stock can only go down. I'm not sold that this is the right move for him. Just from a long-term perspective, happy for him. Happy he's getting a lot of money, but he is
$4 million.
Bad. Exactly.
Yeah. The injury timing was really unfortunate in general. What's going on, Cam?
Cameron, it's $4
$6 million. Is it $4?
It's
$6 million. It's $4.
Okay, I thought it was 6.
No, okay. it's $4. Yeah.
So I disagree with Evan on this one. I actually think that Carson Beck had a decent season. I think his team really let him down. He had most drops in all of college football.
How many of his drops ended in picks?
How many times are you trying to force the ball because you think that your receivers are going to drop the damn ball?
Sorry, that's bad. It's bad decision making.
No, I'm sorry. If you can't trust your receivers, you get put in scenarios where you're trying to force the ball down the field. It happens.
Yeah, you could throw it away too.
Now, not late in games, and that's when they tended to happen. The problem that I see with Carson Beck, and I actually agree with them transferring. I don't think that going to Miami for him seemed like a bad take, but I really think that that's the wrong school. I think he's a quarterback that needs to sit under center, that needs to try and be better at reading the field and to try and be that pocket passer that he is. He's not a dual threat. Cam Ward, that he's leaving, is a dual threat. The individual that was there, I cannot remember his name at the moment, was also a dual threat. That is a dual threat place. I don't know that he's going to be successful. It's a lot of deep reads, a lot of crosser reads, and a lot of trying to buy time.
Okay. I mean, Recovery time is 8 to 10 weeks. Brock Purdy had the same injury, came back in about 8 to 10 weeks. He's going to miss spring practice. He'll probably be ready to go for the season. High price to pay, but I guess nowadays that's chump change for these schools. We shall see. Let's move on. Mine is Ollie Gordon, running back out of Oklahoma State. And this guy entered the season as an ESPN top 100 player at number 8, behind Carson Beck, who is number 7. And that's for good reason. In 2023, Gordon rushed for over 1,700 yards and 21 touchdowns. He had at least 100 yards in 9 and 14 games. He had 200-plus games, and the Cowboys went 10-4. All right, so turn the clocks forward. It's been a nightmare season. This year his yards were cut in half, 880. He still had 13 touchdowns, but just 4 100-plus yard games. And guys, in his defense, Oklahoma State trailed at halftime in 8 games they played this season. So they pretty much had to turn to the pass in the second half. So, I mean, this guy still had relatively a good year, but not compared to as the year before. I'll get to his draft stock in a second, but I just kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah. So, Ollie Gordon, I'm really hoping NFL scouts don't take this season against him. I don't know exactly what happened with Oklahoma State. They were a really good team, and he had an amazing season. This season, even though the team had just an abysmal record, he still balled out in the times that he was allowed to, right? I am hoping that the NFL scouts and just all teams in general, they understand this is not the same team. This was not the same Ollie Gordon. He still made do with what he had, but he just didn't have much.
I think at the running back position, injury is probably the most common reason for a down year. Even in the NFL, Derrick Henry had a couple of years. It happens. I think it's unfortunate that he wasn't already in the NFL so that he couldn't get paid that way. But I think it was primarily due to injury. I think he will be successful at the next level.
All right. Let's move on to our bowls. And these are the guys that are doing really well. Cam, we're going to start with you first. You got a quarterback from Iowa State.
So my favorite thing is when we have players at mid-tier colleges that have to overcome adversity and somehow manage to stick out, whether that's statistically or just bringing their teams to greatness. Rocco Becht is no different. Some of those other quarterbacks in the past that I look at as being successful were Lamar Jackson at Louisville when he had his Heisman campaign, Patrick Mahomes, RG3, Cam Newton. There's a number of different players that over the years weren't at top talent schools, but they managed to transcend that school, bring them to new elevations, and make them look a bit better. Now, Rocco Becht is Iowa State's quarterback. He's in his second year of starting. This year, he threw for 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 9 picks. He had a 13% raise in yards and 2 extra touchdowns over his 2023 campaign. And quite frankly, they easily could have made a berth in the college football playoff this year. He did fight an injury in the fourth quarter of the Arizona State win, albeit they were already losing pretty badly in that second half. But I really look forward to watching Iowa State in the future. Now, guys, I have a question for you. Could he end up being the best quarterback in Iowa State school history, at least by season? Who is the best in terms of career yards and touchdowns at Iowa State? Do y'all know?
Is it Purdy?
I always love when Cameron asks these questions, if nobody knows the answer.
It's probably someone from
hammered it.
Is it Purdy?
No, Joey nailed it. Yeah, it's Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was a 4-year starter at Iowa State.
Okay. All right.
So,
all right. Well, he's trending up. The next guy on the list, Evan, this guy is near and dear to your heart. And so this guy, you think of Tennessee running backs, you think Arian Foster, you think Jamal Lewis, you think, who do I have on here? Travis Henry, who killed the Gators back in the day. This guy has beat them all out in terms of stats. And why don't you tell us more about him?
Yeah. All right. So I don't know how I cannot talk about Dylan Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
Led the SEC this year, broke so many records, and somehow was not recognized for any award in college football. I don't understand how that's possible. Dylan Sampson deserves to be recognized for what he did this past season. He was the absolute workhorse of Tennessee. He led Tennessee to their 10-win season. He led them to the playoffs, and he put that entire team on his back. There's not a whole lot that I need to say about his stats or anything like that because they speak for himself. Enough people have talked about him throughout this entire season to know that he should be deserving of all the awards that he was never considered for. His draft stock at the beginning of this past year was, non-existent. Nobody was talking about him. Now he's a first rounder. And if he's not an early first rounder, I think pretty much any team is going to make a mistake in not picking him. So that's all I got to say about Dylan Sampson. Amazing season, amazing player, amazing teammate. And he just shut up pretty much everybody else.
So real quickly before we get to Cam here, on his draft stock, ESPN doesn't even have him as a top 10 quarterback entering the draft, or top 10 running back. They have him
insane.
I don't know what the number is, but they have him outside of that. They have 10 other guys in front of him.
It's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I would love to hear the reasoning for why some scouts are still down on Dylan Sampson. It's not like he was going up against cupcake teams. This was deep in the SEC. This was some really deep competition. This is a big guy that knows how to absolutely mull over the competition.
Do you know why, Cameron?
No. If you want my honest opinion, I think Evan's pretty much right on. Nico sure as heck wasn't, leading that team to greatness this year. I look at Dylan Sampson. He was excellent. 1,000+ yard back this year. Really came through when Tennessee needed those yards. Really came through in every moment that they had outside of Ohio State, but that wasn't his own fault. Excellent season. I look forward to seeing him at the next level.
Okie dokie. Now we're going to go to my guy, who also is in the SEC. It's Lenore Sellers, freshman quarterback out of South Carolina. So this guy was named along with two other Gamecocks, to the freshman All-American team. Over 2,500 yards passing, 18 touchdowns through the air, 7 on the ground. He also had 674 rushing yards. He's a dual threat guy. And the great news for him and for Carolina fans is he just signed an NIL deal in the last few weeks, so that'll keep him in Columbia another season with their official collective there. He helped South Carolina win the final 6 games of the year and almost sneak into the college. I don't know about almost, but they were a dark horse candidate to get in. And he's already a Heisman contender heading into 2025. So just to keep it short and sweet on this guy, they got a great thing going. They brought in a transfer quarterback from Ohio State, one of their backups or third stringers. But I don't think that's going to affect him starting. But what do you guys see from him? Because he almost beat Alabama this year, Cam.
Yeah. Lenore Sellers, I think, was still very much getting used to his own boots at that point. Mm-hmm. I don't think that he was quite confident yet as the quarterback at South Carolina. And what was funny is while we were playing, all of my friends are blowing up my phone. Why does Alabama look so bad? Why does South Carolina look so good? Who's this Sellers guy, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think he had come into his prime yet. I think he's just starting to hit his stride, and I really look forward to seeing him over the next year or two. I think he could be a fantastic quarterback. Him and DJ Lagway down at Florida. I think they're both going to be really fun to watch in the SEC.
I was going to pick Lagway, but I didn't want to go with the low-hanging fruit. But Evan, you got anything on this guy?
Yeah, all I have to say is if you are an SEC defense next year and you say you are not nervous about Lenore Sellers, you are straight up lying. This dude can pick apart a defense. And as an SEC fan myself that does not root for the Gamecocks, I'm scared.
Sellers is a guy that can get out of the pocket, buy time, and then explode down the field, either with his own legs or just launch it. And he's not afraid to do it. I do want to make one final comment, not on Ladarius Sellers.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a runner-up, and Evan might be on the same boat as me. I want to hand it to Jake Retzlaff as well for a fantastic season at BYU. Truly a fantastic season, and he will be back. I also look forward to watching him next season.
Agreed. Jake Retzlaff, he had an incredible season that nobody saw coming from BYU. Yeah, nobody saw that coming. I hope it continues next year. I don't know if it will or if this was just a Cinderella season, but hats off to that entire team, especially Jake Retzlaff.
All right, there you go, guys. Bears versus Bulls. We're going to do this in the near future with teams, which teams are trending up, which teams are trending down. We'll do it with other things. So this is a segment that's we're going to get into the mix here every now and then. But let's transition to the last word. And so originally I was just going to say, say whatever you want about this week, yada, yada, yada. But we got news today. Today's Tuesday. If you're watching this on another day, the news came Tuesday. FBS coaches have voted to shorten the transfer portal window, get rid of the windows in December and in the spring, and just make it 10 days. I believe it's from January 2nd through the 12th. And their reasoning was it helps with the integrity of bowl season and all that jazz. So just initial thoughts. What do you guys think of this?
And I want to go first.
Okay.
This is a really good step.
Yeah.
It's not there yet. But one of the arguments I hear time and time again is about NIL and how it's ruining college football. How it allows players to just jump from team to team and not play in their final games.
Mm-hmm.
That is not an NIL problem. That is a transfer portal problem. Transfer portal in its current state has opened up within the bowl season.
Evan, who complains about that the most?
Everybody I hear. Quite literally.
Is it the younger generation? Is it the older generation?
It is everybody. I'm not going to pick on a certain crowd because it's everybody. Right? Everybody's picking up the wrong thing. The problem has been the transfer portal. It has not been the NIL. Moving the transfer portal, and yes, sorry, NIL has its own problems, but with what people pick out on it, with not playing their final games, that's a transfer portal problem. This is a step in the right direction. It is not all the way there. Transfer portal, in my opinion, needs to start opening up after all the games are said and done. And that is what is going to fix what people complain about the most, which is having players play in the games for the teams that they signed on with at the beginning of the year. This is a step in that direction. It's not the final step, but it is a step.
I still think that the most egregious version of this was actually last year when you had Malik Murphy, who is at the time Texas' second-string quarterback, who had to transfer out in the middle of the offseason because Texas was in the playoff, and yet the portal actually opened up. Joey, to the point of this being consolidated to a single window, thank God to the coaches that actually voted this way.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the amount of anxiety that they have on their plate as they're prepping for bowl games and watching their players leave and new ones come in, blah, blah, blah. Talking about the most chaotic thing in the world and then amplifying it because we haven't figured out what scheduling is. There is no reason that this ever should have been more than a singular window. Another big take I want to go ahead and bring in. Part of the reason, or the main reason, that this portal opened up in December 12th or whatever it was and went to January 10th is because college football players at their core are students. We need to go ahead and adjust it in our brains. With the older generation is usually who I get the complaints from. These aren't students. These are professional athletes signing contracts with professional agencies, with professional agents, with professional people. These aren't student athletes. I don't really care what happens in their curriculum at school. That's not why they're there anymore. There's too much money in it. If you're in the transfer portal, I don't care if you're going on February 14th for Valentine's Day. You need to figure out the school that works best for you, but it also shouldn't impact the rest of the season, because those coaches that are relying on those players, to Evan's point, it's not right to have them relying on that second string Malik Murphy to be there, and he's out because that's what's best for him. That should never be the case. You're screwing the team, you're screwing your former coach, you're screwing the new coach, you're screwing everybody. It's terrible. Couldn't be happier to see that. But these are no longer student athletes, these are just paid professionals.
So I will say I agree with you. In sports like football and basketball, they're athletes at this point. There's a lot of other sports where they're playing these sports and getting degrees and stuff like that. So I think the reason that December was the window originally was because most schools, you have to be enrolled for spring semester by like early January. So I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm sure schools will figure out a way around it to get a good guy, right? I mean, they already do their homework for them.
Let's be honest. Yeah, let's be honest about this whole thing. They're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, they'll find a loophole, or state legislature will pass a rule or something like that, and they'll be able to start in February. So, anyways, guys, that's the last word. Evan, you're watching the show. You like it. What's the first thing you're gonna do?
I'm gonna like, comment, and subscribe to this whole shindig.
Maybe you can share it too. I'd love to have this get in more places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, guys, we love to hear from you. We started to get some more comments. We'd love to post your comments up on a future episode. So call us out. If you don't agree with us, let us know. We would love to debate with you live on recording.